Top of the morning to you. It's a beautiful, beautiful Wednesday morning. Things have happened. Lots of things have happened. Things that I'm not going to actually make videos on, but, well, at least not in the informational sense that I'm giving them to you now. So obviously, Bao was convicted. That was as expected. Here's a quick life lesson for you. This is something that I advise my clients prior to them going in front of a judge or arbitrator or mediator or family counseling services or anything really. Not really anything. I guess a deposition, you know, fuck them. If opposing counsel doesn't like my client, then, well, they probably didn't like him anyway. But generally in life, the old saying holds true. You catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. You can be less right, and if they like you, they'll make up the difference for you. It's a truism. There's a reason why I dress the way I do and present myself the way I do. And it's because that makes up for any defect that my case or client may have. You're not necessarily going to win on your looks, but they certainly help. You're not necessarily going to win on a smile, but it will certainly help. I mean, you think Fat Parasite has anything going for him other than a nice voice and a pleasant attitude? He doesn't. He's not smart. He's not an auditor. He's a schmuck, a fat schmuck, sitting behind a computer, sucking down your donations like the Twinkies that he normally stuffs in his face. But he has a good voice. And he's pleasant. And he's agreeable. And that goes a long way. Bao is not pleasant and agreeable. And Bao also doesn't understand the law, so there was absolutely no reason for the judge or the jury to fill any shortcomings in Bao's misunderstandings with credit for being nice. And I can't tell you the number of times where I've gone into a situation because my boss likes to send me into situations without all the evidence, without all the facts, because that teaches you how to argue better. That teaches you, how to think on your feet. And he doesn't do it to me on anything critical, so. And I figured out why he's doing it, so I don't try to argue and sneak files out anymore. Because yes, I was cheating for a minute, but then I figured out why he was doing it. But yeah, I can't tell you the number of situations where just an aw shucks, thank you ma'am, if you'd be so kind, I really appreciate it, being nice, being polite, next thing you know, you're getting what you want. It's crazy. It's crazy how people will respond to you if you're being nice and polite and friendly and you don't look like a bum. Where you going? You don't get any of those sprinklers this morning. You've already had sprinkler time. Oh, I want the sprinklers. I want the sprinklers. He loves sprinklers. Come on, dude. I don't want to get wet right now. It's cold. Chilly. Yeah, so it is unsurprising. Bao got the maximum for his harassment. No, it wasn't harassment. Was it harassment? I think it was harassment, yes. That was the harassment charge. Maximum was 6 months and a $2,000 fine, and he got 6 months and a $2,000 fine. Another way being nice helps is even if you are convicted of the crime, there is still some leeway involved. Typically, I'm guessing anyway. I've never sentenced anybody under Texas So there's sentencing guidelines typically, and I'm going to bet that Texas has something along those lines. And then there's some discretion built in. And if you're nice, if you're polite, if you're agreeable, then I'm not saying that you have to take the knee. You know, I'm just saying if you're nice about it, you can disagree with someone being nice about it. You can disagree with the judge and be nice about it. You know, well, Your Honor, I disagree. I think it should be this way. Here's my support for that. Your Honor, I think you're making a mistake. This is why. You don't have to be like, you don't have to have that tone of voice. You don't have to be a jerk about it. You can disagree while being polite. Yeah, because the judge had the discretion, and the judge was not particularly thrilled with the antics that Bao was pulling. Bao enjoyed the maximum sentence. Yeah, I got on Mr. Freeman's live stream last night, asking some very simple questions, I thought, because, well, I don't put live streams on my channel, obviously. I don't actually watch them. In fact, I was linked to this live stream in my Discord because I was trying to find out. I had seen Freeman had done a clip saying go watch it on the Clash with Bao channel, and I went over to the Clash with Bao channel. No, somebody actually linked me to it. That's right. Somebody linked me to that one. But I was going to watch it anyway, so, you know. It was an hour and like 15 minutes, hour and a half, something around there. Way too long. Should have been about 10 seconds. This was the verdict. This was the sentence. Yeah, so I went over there, and I can't handle watching it because it's just too much stupid. But Freeman said something about the Clash with Bao trial not being a fair trial, which made me go, really? Like, why do you think that? Because fair trial has a meaning. It doesn't mean that you get what you want. Fair trial means that you have the opportunity to be heard, that you have the opportunity to have an attorney. You have an opportunity to present a defense. Doesn't mean you have the opportunity to hire Johnny Cochran or the best lawyer in the world. It just means that you have the opportunity to retain an attorney. Or if you can't afford one, have one appointed for you. So, anyway, I was asking if anybody had a clip of where Mr. Freeman actually stated why he thought that the Bao trial was not fair. And somebody said, well, he's streaming right now. So I checked, and there it was. Or they said he talked about it in a stream a minute ago. And I checked, and he was streaming, and so I figured I'm not going to go searching through it because, you know, I hate live streams. I mean, it's nothing against James. I just think live streams are a waste of time. And in general, I think that you know, there's a lot of like this. There's a lot of rambling. There's not much getting to the point. But people want this, so this is why I do it. And people want live streams, so that's why they get live streams. Speaking of rambling, yeah, so I asked Mr. Freeman in the comments. Boy, he picked me out right quick. But I asked him, you know, why do you think it's not fair? And he proceeded to tell me all of the woes and troubles and how Bao wasn't allowed to prepare a defense. And I pointed out the fact that he had retained an attorney, and Mr. Freeman obviously ignored that and went on with Bao was locked in solitary confinement. Bao was in a segregated unit But I guess if you want to call it solitary confinement, you can. So then, so he was using the Bao being locked in a segregated unit as the reason why Bao wasn't allowed to prepare a defense. So I obviously had to ask, if Bao wasn't allowed to prepare a defense, then how was Bao allowed to prepare a habeas corpus? Oh, well, it was Gunner that filed the habeas corpus. Well, it was Bao that signed it. There's nothing I'm aware of that prevented Bao from preparing a defense. And then, instead of actually addressing the difference between preparing a habeas and preparing a defense, James went on about, he couldn't call witnesses, but obviously it's hard to call witnesses when you're spending all of your money making collect calls to call into your live stream. I wonder what they're going to do now that they can no longer collect donations to free Bao. Huh. Probably a good thing Gunner got a job. Anyway, but then he proceeded to say, how would you do it? You wouldn't be able to do it. I'd love to see you do it. You should lock yourself in a cell, for 60 days or whatever he said, and see if you can prepare defenses. My God, dude, like, I'm an attorney. That's what I do. I lock myself in my tiny, crappy little office. I don't lock myself in there, but I sit down in there with just me, a computer, and my printer. Yes, I have a printer in my office. No, that doesn't make me a bad attorney. And I hammer out defenses, hammer out paperwork. A lot of jails, a lot of prisons have law libraries. I am. If I was a betting man, I would bet that there was a law library available to Bao of some sort, or at least computers with access to like LexisNexis and Westlaw. Or I should say. So anyway, and of course it was very hard to answer Mr. Freeman's questions when he was asking me them, and I was continually getting timed out. That was fun. Yes, he has the right to do it, but I don't know. I still think you're an asshole if you're pro censorship. Yes, you have the right to do it. It's like that cop in Ohio with BLW. The cop had the right to do it. Now, people misconstrue me because they don't listen to what I say in the videos, but I did note that guy was a tyrant. I said, P&P News found a tyrant. And I don't disagree with him, but everybody skipped right over that because apparently I just can't think that a cop did anything wrong, apparently. But I thought the cop was an ass. I thought he was being unreasonable. I thought he should have looked at the totality of the circumstances, saw some schmuck filming his officers getting their stuff ready in the back of their cars, and been like, hey, are you filming the stuff? I'm getting the stuff ready in the back of their cars. The guy would have been like, oh yeah, I was actually here to get a complaint form. And then the cop could have been like, hey, well, you know what? I'll tell you what, man. Let me help you out. I'll go meet you over at the door. I'll let you in there. We'll get you a complaint form. We'll get you on your way. Could have done that. Could have been nice. Wasn't nice. He was technically right in what he did. He was technically right. Legally, he was technically right in how he approached it. It was a valid trespass. At least it appears to be until a court gets a hold of it. Come on. Come on. But the cop was still a jerk. So, yeah, you have the right to censor, but you're a jerk when you do. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. All right, so hard to answer questions when you're getting timed out all the time. And then Mr. Freeman pulled out his trump card. As he'd been saving this, he'd been building up for it. You know, the difference between with a lawyer and without a lawyer, right? Brandon Cass, who was accused of the same exact crime with exactly the same victim at almost identical times. It was a few days off their arrests were, so the underlying offense probably happened at the same time. Mr. Freeman called him his co-defendant. Mr. Freeman's retarded, though. Well, Brandon Cass got 12 months suspended sentence or deferred sentence. Deferred adjudication. Those are the words I'm looking for. And apparently, Mr. Freeman pled out yesterday, and he got 6 months deferred adjudication. So he did better without a lawyer than Brandon Cass did with a lawyer. And I was apparently wrong for telling him to get a lawyer. Now, I don't believe that Mr. Freeman understands why I was telling him to get a lawyer. Mr. Freeman was saying that he was going to use Mark Stevens' motions to try to get his case dismissed, to try to fight it. And that is just going to waste the court's time and piss the court off. And as we saw with Bao, if you piss the court off enough, you get a harsher sentence. Because if the court can't trust you to act appropriately when your freedom is on the line, then how is the court going to trust you to act appropriately out in public? Had I anticipated Mr. Freeman pleading out, then my advice would have been different. But, you know, I could only go on what I'm being told. Now, another fun thing that I'm being told is that Mr. Freeman is saying that he did it without a lawyer. And I'm still seeing this, what's his name, David Woodruff, listed as his attorney. And somebody in my Discord, a very fine young troll, I'm going to call him young, I'm going to call it a him, because that's how I see it, but a very fine troll in my Discord server pointed to a couple instances of now deleted videos where Mr. Freeman mentioned that he did in fact have counsel in Dallas. So it is going to be interesting to see if the any documents get posted up with counsel's name and signature on it. There weren't any documents from yesterday posted online at the time that I went to bed last night around 10 p.m. Pacific. So that'd have been like midnight, I guess, Texas time. But that'll be interesting to see. Now, as far as the 12 months for 6 months, all you have to do is go on Dallas County's criminal records, and you'll see one entry for Mr. James Allen Springer, and so he got sentenced as though he had one entry. You'll see like 5 entries for Mr. Brandon Cass. Oddly enough, Mr. Brandon Cass is going to be offered a longer sentence for his plea deal. Is that in relation to an attorney? No, it's not. That's in relation to sentencing guidelines. That's in relation to if you get convicted of more crimes, if you're a habitual offender, you get longer sentences. I don't necessarily agree with longer sentences, but that's the way the criminal system works. So is it Mr. Springer's fantastic legal maneuvering that won him the day, that got him a one in air quotes, that got him a reduced sentence of only 6 months when Brandon Cass, exactly the same co-defendant, got 12? No. It's the fact that Mr. Freeman has a shorter rap sheet than Mr. Cass. Now, I'm not even sure if they had everything from Texas in front of him, because Mr. Cass has quite the laundry list outside of Dallas County. He's been a naughty boy for a long time. So I'm not entirely sure what all the judge was looking at. I seriously doubt the judge saw any of Mr. Springer's convictions from Arizona. So I'm sure that it looked like Mr. Freeman was a good boy who got caught up with a bad boy. Mr. Freeman didn't do nothing. He's a good little Mormon with a beautiful wife and lovely children, and it would be terrible to society to take this struggling young entrepreneur and place him in a cell where he will be corrupted by the evil men of society. Or at least I'm sure that's how the judge was looking at it. Anyway, I guess that's probably about enough, I think that's about enough. Yeah, so today I'm going to check with David Woodruff, unless I see a court document by the time I get home from this. I still have no ill will towards Mr. Springer, although it is quite ironic now that he has now that he's pled out of that Dallas charge. He seems to have gone even more sovereign citizen than he was. Who knows? Morning. Come on. Anyway, that'll be about it. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.